It was a typical Thursday night that was about to become anything but typical. My wife Anna and I worked together in the kitchen, as we often do when preparing dinner. She was chopping onions while I was chopping cheese and ham into small cubes for our omelet, when she said something that caught my attention. "Brad, we've been married for almost 7 years, and we've always been completely honest with each other, haven't we?" I stopped cutting the ham and replied, "Of course we agreed. It was one of the most important parts of our relationship before we said yes to each other." She turned away from the counter and looked at me thoughtfully. "I met someone." Suddenly, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, as if I had just been electrocuted. "Have you met anyone?" "What does it mean that you met someone?" I asked, although I was mortally afraid that I already knew the answer. "The guy at work, a really nice guy I had lunch with. I'm guessing there's more to this story, so carry on." "Are you saying that you met a really nice guy from work that you had lunch with and you like him? Maybe really like him?" A guilty expression flashed across her face. She turned away from me, nodded her head, and said very quietly, "Yes." Suddenly, I didn't really want an omelet or anything else. In fact, I was starting to feel nauseous, but I had to continue the conversation. I threw the knife onto the cutting board and put both hands on the table to steady myself. "How far has it gone between you and this really nice guy?" There was a lot of tension in my voice, and she retreated to the counter. "We just had lunch every day for a few weeks and dinner last week when you had that late business meeting. Did you two hold hands, kiss, do any heavy petting?" Her face paled and she nodded again. "We kissed." The disgusting bile arose in my throat, and I was close to choking on it. "Did you have sex with him?" She quickly looked at me and shook her head. This stunned me, and I had to move my chair and sit down. "So you haven't slept with him yet, but you're planning on it?" A jerky nod. "I think yes. He wants me to go away with him for the weekend." "And are you going to?" "Yes. I don't want to upset you, but I need to find out what he means to me." "I'm sorry, Brad. I know you're hurting and I hate it, but I told him I'd go with him. I couldn't sneak away without telling you. We were always so honest with each other about everything." "Can I ask where you two are going?" "In Las Vegas." "I assume in the same room?" "He says he booked a room. Big spender. He thinks very highly of me. I have no doubt about it. When are you leaving?" "Tomorrow morning." "Wow, you sure waited until the last second to tell me, huh?" "I waited before I hurt you because I had to be absolutely sure that I needed it." I almost laughed, but it sounded more like a choked sob. "That was very thoughtful of you, Anna. Does he know you're married?" "Yes, sure. I always wear wedding rings." "Do me a favor and don't wear them when you're in his bed in Las Vegas." "Brad, I talk about you all the time when I'm with him." "Wonderful, and I'm sure you had a lot of wonderful things to tell him about me, like, I'm as good a guy as he is, but I'm a little boring in bed, and I leave nail clippings on the carpet, and a lot of other things. Little negative things that made you leave me." She looked shocked. "I never said anything bad about you, Brad. But not enough to stop you from going away with him for a sex-filled weekend. You love me, but obviously you haven't lately, have you?" "No. Oh, I don't know, I'm confused." "So you jump into the arms of a really nice man who knows you're married but doesn't care. I'm the one clearing things up so you don't get confused, right? A few days and nights in Vegas, in his arms and in his bed, to clarify everything you feel about me and him. Let him take over your body, which, by the way, you promised exclusively to me several years ago. Let him have you until you can't stand up. One of you takes condoms." She actually had a few tears running down her cheek. "I'm on the pill, Brad, so I don't need condoms." "Has your really nice boyfriend been tested for an STD recently?" "He's not like that, Brad. He hasn't been with a woman for over 2 years. He says so, but I'll bet you $1 million that it's not true. He's after people like you, Anna. He sees a beautiful, sexy married woman and wants her. This is the perfect game for guys like him. Steal a beautiful married woman and fuck her. Make the pathetic husband a cuckold. If I'm right, and it hasn't been tested, you may find out that what happens in Vegas may not stay in Vegas. Something may follow you home in a very unpleasant way." This nice guy is your boss? No, he is the boss of my bosses. So, you're really selling out, aren't you? There's no point in climbing the corporate ladder when you can use your feminine charms to slide up a rung that's several scales above you. I don't know what I'm doing, Brad, but I want to find out, and the way you're being mean to me isn't helping. I'm not going to help you go away with another man for a hot weekend and have sex in Vegas, Anna. Let me ask you something. If I beg you not to leave, if I get on my knees and beg you to stay here with me, will you do it? She lowered her eyes to the floor and shook her head. I can't, Brad. I told Stan I'd go with him, and I can't break my word. At least now I knew his name. Wow, I see. You can easily break the sacred vows you made to me 7 years ago, but you cannot break your promise to Stan. This is true? I'm so sorry, Brad. I don't want to hurt you, but I have to do this for myself. Please try to understand. I knew right away that I had lost her, but because of my pain and suffering, I had an idea. A parting shot that won't make her change her mind, but may make her wonder what her actions will do to us. I stood up and turned towards the door to the basement. Wait here. I want to show you something. Then I'll get out of your way and you can prepare for your trip. I went down to the basement and rummaged around until I found the Halloween props I was looking for. Then I opened our wall safe, took out a piece of paper, took a hammer and some nails, and took it to the kitchen. Anna looked at me like I was crazy when she saw me carrying the small wooden coffin we used as a Halloween decoration up the stairs. What is this for? Just have fun for a minute. We've been together for a long time, and before we finish, I want to show you something. I set the 3-foot wooden coffin on the kitchen counter, dumping the ham and cheese I'd been working on off the cutting board and onto the floor. This is a coffin. Well, it's a cheap Halloween prop, but it's still a coffin. Here is the lid that goes on the coffin. This is a hammer, and these are nails. When I showed her the hammer, she started to get nervous. And this, I said, showing the paper that I took out of the safe, is our marriage certificate. I opened the lid of the coffin, put our testimony in there, and put the lid back on the coffin. Brad, what are you doing? Return our marriage certificate to where you took it. Why, Anna, doesn't this mean anything anymore? It's where it belongs, in a coffin, ready for burial. She started crying again. What are you talking about, Brad? This is proof that we are married. That once you walk out that door to be with Stan tomorrow will no longer be true. Now she was starting to go crazy. Brad, you don't know this. I don't know. Oh, yes, Anna. But I know that for sure. Your decision is to leave with Stan. My decision is to divorce you. Now sit down and listen for a minute. Our marriage certificate is in the coffin where it belongs. I took a nail and placed it on the corner of the coffin lid. Bang! 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 I drove it through the lid into the coffin. The sound was so loud in this small room that it scared Anna and she jumped. This is the first nail. It represents the time you went to lunch and dinner with a really nice guy, Stan. I took another nail and placed it on the adjacent corner. Bang! 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 This is the second nail. It represents the passionate kisses you shared with a really nice guy, Stan. Anna's eyes were big and her mouth began to tremble as she looked at me. Bang! 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 I drove the third nail into the penultimate corner. This nail symbolizes your agreement to go with a really nice guy, Stan, to Vegas for the weekend. I picked up the last nail and placed it on the lid in the fourth and final corner of the coffin. Bang! I hit it once to make it firmly embedded in the tree. This is the fourth nail, Anna. You've heard the expression about something being the final nail in the coffin. A nail that seals it for all eternity, that irrevocably completes the fate of who or what is inside. That final nail is only partially hammered in, but our marriage is in that coffin, so when you walk out that door in the morning to go to Las Vegas with that really nice guy, Stan, that final nail will be driven in the coffin and our marriage life will end, irreconcilably and irrevocably. That's not what you mean, Brad. You can't leave us because of one carelessness. I'm not throwing us away, Anna, it's you. I loved you with every fiber of my being. You are the most beautiful, sexiest woman I have ever known, and it has been my honor and joy to have you as my wife for the past 7 years. No, it's not me who's leaving us. If I could, I would climb into that coffin with proof of our marriage and be buried with him. Oh, and just to satisfy my curiosity and drive my dagger deeper into my heart, I have to ask, if I look in the luggage you are packing to take, will I find some sexy panties and bras and maybe a nice negligee that you bought just for this occasion? Anna didn't answer. She just continued to cry quietly, but the look on her face told me the answer. That's what I thought. I'm leaving now. I don't want to be here to witness your latest act of betrayal. I'll come back and get everything I need to get through the next couple of weeks after you leave with Stan. If you have extra time in Vegas, although I suspect you'll be too busy warming Stan's bed to think about anything else, but still, you might want to think about what items in your home you would like to keep. I won't be here when you get back, but my lawyer will contact you in a week or two. I grabbed my jacket, walked out the door, got into the car, and drove away. I had just experienced the worst evening of my life, and I felt dead and completely numb. I had no idea where I was going, and I didn't care. I just needed to get away. I knew I couldn't keep anything in my stomach, so I found a Motel 6 on the opposite side of town from the airport. I didn't want to be tempted to hang out in the relegation area to see what a really nice guy Stan looked like. It doesn't matter, he won, or at least I lost. My cell phone rang several times, and the caller ID told me it was Anna, so I ignored it. The last thing I wanted was to hear more excuses for her, turning her back on what I had always considered a wonderful marriage. I slept fitfully with thoughts of Anna screaming in ecstasy while nice guy Stan had her brain. I was sure that before the end of the weekend he would know all of Anna's little secrets. What a stupid weakling I was to believe that I could keep her forever. I got up early, showered, put the same clothes back on, and went to the nearest Denny's for coffee and toast, and that was it. No matter how hard I tried not to think about what Anna was doing at the moment, I couldn't get rid of it. I seemed to be locked in some kind of miserable whirlwind, seeing my wife, the only woman I thought would be with me forever, holding hands with Stan on the plane, kissing him in the taxi, and rushing to check in so they could get to their room and have sex. I've heard people describe the level of pain they felt when they were deceived, but I never realized how completely disabling it was. I waited until 8:30 to call my office and tell my assistant that I would be out. She asked if I was feeling well, and I said yes, but hopefully by Monday, I'd be back to being my old self. After hanging up, I noticed that I had at least a dozen missed calls from Anna, and upon checking further, I found another dozen text messages from her. I didn't delete them, but I didn't read them either. I noticed that the last text and call came at 7:45, and there was nothing after that, so I assumed she had stopped trying to contact me when she left to be with Stan, the wife-stealing bastard. I refused to call him a good guy because he was as far from that as possible. I knew I would find a way to get back at him when the time came. To be on the safe side, I waited until 10:30 to get home and grab what I needed to start my new life as a single man. As I pulled into the driveway and pressed the button to open the garage door, I saw that Anna's car wasn't there, and reality came in and hit me. She probably drove to meet Stan so she wouldn't have to take a cab. I kicked myself for trying to think that she might have changed her mind and stayed home. Admit it, asshole. She left you. She got a better deal, a guy who would take her to Las Vegas and party with her for the entire weekend in a luxury suite. Now wake up and live your life. You may never find another woman as beautiful as her, but you will find someone. Deep down, I didn't believe a single word I said. It was eerily quiet inside the house, and looking at it with the stunned eyes of a broken-hearted man, it seemed strange to me. Previously, he seemed so warm and alive, but now he seemed cold and lifeless. I walked through the kitchen and noticed that the pieces of cheese and ham that I had thrown on the floor had been removed, and the coffin was no longer on the table. I decided it was most likely in the trash can. I don't think my little lesson had much impact on Anna. I know that lust is a powerful thing, and when you're curled up in its grip, it's hard to be rational. I walked up the stairs to the bedroom, wondering how long it would be before Stan had my wife in what had been our marital bed. Damn it, I had to stop torturing myself like that. Entering the room, I saw a coffin standing in the middle of the bed, the lid was slightly open, and a crowbar lay nearby. Someone, Anna, probably put a lot of effort into getting the nails out. Out of curiosity, I looked further and discovered the marriage certificate that I had locked inside, now lying between two pillows at the head of the bed. I think she didn't want me to even get this victory, I said out loud. I turned to the dresser to grab some underwear and socks, and there, on the table next to the window, lay 3 beautiful, and I'm sure very expensive, sets of bras and panties, cut up and scattered on top of the sexiest yellow negligee I've ever worn. I saw it was cut, too. On top was a piece of paper on which the words, "I cannot share what I don't own," were written in black felt-tip pen. "What the heck?" I said out loud. I turned to the bed and saw the same piece of paper leaning against the coffin. "I can't share what I don't own." The same message, written in the same black marker. Then there was the sound of screeching tires and the unmistakable sound of 2 cars colliding in front of the house. But before I could react, the front door swung open and a woman screamed, "Brad, where are you? Oh God, please! Oh please, Brad! You need to be here so I can tell you how wrong I was, how terribly stupid I was." I heard her run towards the stairs, trip and fall halfway up. She cried hysterically, and when she looked up and saw me standing on the top platform, she stretched out her arms to me and began to crawl up. In all our 7 years of marriage and 2 years of dating before that, I had never seen her look so bad. She had no makeup on, her hair was a mess, her eyes were puffy and red, and she was wearing a Caltech sweatshirt, gray sweatpants, and a pair of fuzzy bunny slippers that I bought for her as a joke one Christmas. "Anna, what are you doing? Where is Stan?" I asked her. She shook her head and said, "I can't share what I don't own, Brad." That's what I told him. To Stan, that's exactly what I told him when he came to pick me up. I can't share what I don't own. I was dressed exactly the same. He asked why I wasn't willing to go to Las Vegas with him, and I told him again that I couldn't share what I didn't own. He said, "What the hell does that mean?" And I told him that I would not go anywhere with him. I would never go anywhere with him. I would never talk to him again because I didn't have the body that he wanted to fuck so badly. This body belongs only to my husband and never, never to anyone else. I can't share what I don't own. Only my husband owns every inch of me, and I will never share that with anyone else. She continued to slowly crawl up the stairs towards me. Brad, he called me names, said I was a bitch and a tease, and because of me, he spent good money on plane tickets and a room at Aria. He said he would tell everyone at work that I was a fallen woman and get me fired. I told him he couldn't do it because I had already quit. He was so angry that his tires squealed for an entire block as he drove away. Finally, she reached the landing and wrapped her arms around my ankles and hugged my legs. "I feel so ashamed," she exclaimed. "I hurt the only person in the world who has proven time and time again how much he loves me and would do anything for me. I violated the sacred trust of a person in which my whole life lies. I'm so sorry." And she began to cry. She held me like that for what seemed like an eternity, but was undoubtedly only a few minutes. I was dazed, too dazed to move. The woman who was my life, whom I worshipped with every breath, my Alpha and Omega, my beginning and end, had brutally broken my heart. And now, half a day later, she was hugging my legs and crying. Every cell in my body wanted me to take her in my arms and tell her how much I loved her, and that we would get through this terrible time, but I was frozen in place, unable to move. All the events of the last 15 hours flashed through my head. In my heart of hearts, I believed that she had not consummated her relationship with Stan sexually, but still, in my mind, she had betrayed me. A married woman does not have intimate lunches and dinners with another man. A married woman does not share passionate kisses with another man. A married woman does not accept or plan a vacation with her lover in Las Vegas. True, she came to her senses before any real damage was done, but she betrayed me nonetheless. I stood and looked at the woman who had been my world until last night, and it was obvious that she was in as much pain as I was. Our marriage was teetering on the edge of a very dark abyss, and I wondered if we had the strength to move forward without falling off the edge. I reached down and lifted Anna to her feet, and we held each other until the sobs subsided. "Let's go make some coffee." "Thank you, Brad." "Oh, Brad," she whispered. "I think I crashed your car when I was just driving up to the house." "Yes, I heard that. We'll talk about this, too," I told her. I helped her down the stairs and into the kitchen. While we were drinking coffee, I asked her, "What made you change your mind? Last night you were so sure you had to go with Stan. What changed?" She looked at me over her cup, her dark eyes red and puffy. "You buried our marriage." "What do you mean?" "You put our marriage certificate in that terrible coffin and nailed the lid shut. After you left, I went upstairs, but all I could think about was our marriage certificate in this dark, terrible place. Our marriage ended, you buried him. He was in a place where there was no air or light, and he could not get out. And then I began to think about all the wonderful things that testimony had brought us, all that it meant to me. We were a team, so happy when we were together, and I thought about how happy you always made me. I must have dozed off because I dreamed that I was in this coffin, in this dark place, and I felt like I was suffocating. It was so real that it woke me up, and I knew I had to somehow lift the lid off the coffin and get our marriage back to where it could breathe, where I could breathe." She laughed a little. "I never realized how well you hid your tools. It took me at least an hour to find the crowbar, and another half hour to drag the coffin into the bedroom and lift the lid enough to pull out our certificate. I felt possessed. I had to get him out before you put the final nail in the coffin." "When did you decide not to go with Stan?" She giggled again, and the sound warmed my soul. "About 2 seconds after you walked out the door, I knew I could never leave with Stan or anyone else." I felt so stupid and ashamed. How could I treat the only man I've ever loved the way I treated you? I tried to call you again and again, but you didn't pick up. Then I started writing to you, but that didn't work either. Much later, when I finally lifted the lid of the coffin so I could reach the testimony, I thought about how I would tell Stan that I never wanted to see him again. I took off all my makeup and pulled out your old Caltech sweatshirt and sweatpants and put them on. My eyes were already red and ugly from crying, and I wondered how beautiful Stan would think I would be when he saw the real me. That you see all the time and you still love me? You are the most beautiful woman I have ever known, Anna. Even now you look perfect to me. And when I realized that I had to do everything in my power to get you back, for you to love me again. I hadn't packed much yet, but when I started unpacking, I saw the negligee, panties, and bras I'd bought for my trip with Stan, and I broke down again. Suddenly, just the sight of them made me feel sick. They were the final expression of my betrayal, and I had to destroy them, so I took the scissors and tore them all apart. You know they cost a lot of money, but I couldn't bear to look at them, so I destroyed them the same way I think I destroyed you and our marriage. It was then that I went to the place where our marriage certificate lay, took it and studied it. Everything is very simple. It states that Anna Stanford and Brad Connolly were united in holy matrimony on June 12, 2005, witnessed by my maid of honor and your best man. But as I looked at him, it all came back to me. We stood in front of all our family and friends and gave ourselves to each other. We vowed to be faithful to each other until death. And I cried again, realizing that I could not share myself with anyone but you. I can't share what I don't own, and that's what I told Stan when he came to pick me up. Thank you for telling me. You've given me a lot to think about. Do you think we can handle this and everything will be okay? I don't know, Anna. I hope so, but right now, I don't know. You almost killed me last night. I have never experienced such pain in my life. I felt so betrayed, so alone, so helpless. Do you have any idea what it's like to know that the only person on earth you love more than anyone else, the one you've always trusted unconditionally, chooses another man over you? She burst into tears again. Oh, Brad, I'm so sorry. I was out of my mind. I will do anything to fix it, even die if it helps. This definitely won't help. I want you to be alive and well, And more than anything, I want to trust you again. It won't be as difficult as it could be because, like you said, we've always been honest with each other. Even last night you told me what you felt. Brad, how I thought I felt. How did you think? How did you feel? So, what now, Anna? I don't know about you, but I didn't sleep well last night. And if you don't mind, I'd like to take you to bed with me. I don't know. It may be too early for that. We don't have to do anything, Brad. I just want to feel you next to me, in your rightful place. Her dark eyes were so pleading that I couldn't refuse. Okay, Anna, but don't snuggle. I'm still mad at you. A tiny smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. Whatever you say, dear. And she crossed herself, took me by the hand, and led me up the stairs to our room. Absolutely no nonsense. For several months, everything went as usual. No matter how hard I tried, there were times when that night would flash in my head, and I would become sullen. Anna seemed to sense when such moments happened, and she filled me with love, crowding out all other thoughts. She actually quit her job, and when her bosses in HR wanted to know why, she told them. Yes, she was embarrassed, but she needed to get rid of this feeling. It's not too surprising that the head of HR told her that there had been 3 prior sexual harassment complaints against the really nice guy Stan, and long story short, he found himself without a job and without references. Anna not only kept her job, but she was given a fairly substantial amount of money to promise not to sue the company. She worked there for about 6 months after that because we discovered we were going to be parents. Oh yes, of course. As soon as Anna carried me up the stairs and into our bed that day, well, I think it's clear. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.